Let's talk about quitting drinking and your kids. For me, it felt like a real challenge. I was worried that my teenage son was going to think worse of me when I talked to him about the fact that I had a problem with alcohol and that I'd made a decision to quit drinking. I was worried that he might judge me or it might in some way affect his own behaviour. And then I also thought about how my drinking habits would impact his own behaviour going forward. He'd seen me drinking every single day of his life up until the age of 13. And that has to have some kind of effect on him. He probably thought that what you do is drink alcohol. Yeah, that's what dad says makes him happy. That's what dad says makes him relax. So all those years of conditioning, which is exactly what happened to me from my parents, it was exactly what I'd done to him. So I saw it as an opportunity to be able to make a change and inspire him, to show him that there's a different side to me and that you can make your own choices in all of this. So when I felt ready, I sat down with my teenager and we had an open conversation. I shared with him what I was doing, why I was doing it. I told him about the books I'd read, the journey of exploration and self discovery that I'd been on. And I kind of reached out to him and looked to him as a place to find accountability and support. And that's exactly what I got from him. We had a really wonderful conversation. He asked me lots of questions about why I was drinking, how it became a problem for me. And as the months rolled by, I kept engaging with him and talking to him. And I think this is the most important thing you can do. Rather than just keep it to yourself, be really open with your kids, especially if they're older and they're teenagers. They obviously want reassurance and they want certainty that mum or dad is okay. But sharing with them enables them to be part of the process and engages them in everything that's going on. So we talked a lot about what I was doing. And as I went further down the line, I asked him which version of me he preferred, the drinking version or the sober version. It's a pretty simple question. And the answer was pretty straightforward too. He was absolutely certain that the sober me was a much better version. So I asked him why. And he said that he felt I was far more engaged and ready to do things with him. I was no longer putting wine in front of things. So maybe he might ask to go to the cinema or go bowling. The drinking me would have preferred to stay home and drink, but now I'm absolutely up for doing anything, and I feel completely present, engaged, and involved, and I have a great time when we do things together. I would say our relationship is probably 100% better than it was when we were drinking, but I really strongly feel that talking to my son was a very, very important part of the process for me. And it's never too late to talk to your children. I have people in the groups that I coach in who say to me that they've drunk for so long that they feel the damage is done with their kids. But my experience has been that my son has learned from what I've done. He's seen me make a change. He's seen that you can make your own choices, that there's another way. You don't just have to stick to a habit, or if you're caught in a rut with something, you can get out of it and you can work on yourself to become a better version. So I feel like he's learned a lesson. I'm sure he'll go on to make his own choices when it comes to alcohol. But interestingly, he was staying at a friend's house a few months ago and he texted me in the evening and he said, Dad, my friend's just got out a bottle of gin, started drinking it. I'm not going to have any. I don't want to let you down, and I'm not interested in doing it. And I found that really interesting that he had decided to make that decision of his own accord. He could easily have had a drink. And maybe if I hadn't been on this sober journey, he may well have taken a drink. But something had clearly clicked inside him. It had made him start thinking about how alcohol features in his life. He has said to me that he's not interested in alcohol, but as I say, I'm sure he'll go on his own journey of self-discovery. But I feel like I've set him up for success by sharing my journey with him, and it's opened up a real quality dialogue between the two of us where we can talk about it and express ourselves about it. And I feel like I've got an awesome member of my support team, and I'm sure he'll experiment, I'm sure he'll find his own way, but he knows a lot more than he knew before, and he's seen it from both sides now. And he loves the sober version of his dad. I feel like I'm a real dad again. I feel like I'm doing all the dad things and I'm enjoying all the dad things, and I'm really part of his own journey, and I'm there to support him. I'm there for him whenever he needs me. And it's so much more meaningful than just thinking about wine and the whole alcohol trap and the routine that I was caught in. So I guess the big takeaway that I had in all of this is that it was important to talk to my son. And if you've got teenagers, there will come a time when you're going to want to share, but try and involve them in your journey as much as possible. Make them part of the process. There was a lady that I was doing coaching with, and she was worried about telling her teenage daughter that she had quit drinking. She was just really scared of telling her because she felt she might judge her, she might think worse of her, she won't appear as a good mum. And in the end, we agreed that we would make it fun. And her daughter loved to go shopping, so she decided that she would say to her daughter that if she can complete a further 30 days without drinking with her support, she'd take her shopping and she'd get £50 to spend. If she drank during the 30 days, the daughter would get £100 to spend. So it was a bit of a carrot and stick approach. And she made it through that period, and she's still sober now. And it was just a great strategy. And her daughter loved it. She really joined in and was part of the journey. It made the whole thing fun. It took the sort of serious nature out of the whole thing. So there's lots of different ways you can do it when it comes to involving your kids. And I think if you've got younger children, it's more a case of just giving them reassurance. Sure, you could say to them that mum or dad has decided to stop drinking, it wasn't helping. You probably don't need to go into quite so much detail at that point if they're younger children. They just need reassurance and maybe a level of inclusion. You can decide what's right for you. But certainly when it comes to teenagers, I actually think our own experiences can help inspire them, help them learn, and help them make their own choices as they go forward. So instead of coming at it with an approach of, I'm going to be perceived as a bad parent, come at it with an approach of, I can inspire my children, I can help my children learn from what I've learned in this process. And it's a very empowering feeling. And sure, it means you've got to be vulnerable, and it means you've got to put yourself out there, but your kids will appreciate it, and they will see that you're just a normal human being, and it's part of life that we share these things with each other, and these things can happen, and we're showing them that we've had a problem, we've dealt with a problem, and so can you. And that's a really important lesson. And as I say, I've been through it with my teenager, and since I've quit drinking, he's faced some challenges of his own around his gender, around his sexuality, and we've worked together on those, and I've been so present and there for him, and I feel like I've been a real dad, a really good dad. I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but I feel like I've done the right things. I've been there to support him and give him what he needs. And as parents, really all we can do is provide support and love and be there for our children when they need us. They've got to make their own decisions in life as they go forward. We can only guide them down the path. But I feel like they learn, certainly in my experience, my son has learned so much from my own journey with alcohol, and it's enabled him to think differently about how alcohol might feature in his life as he goes forward. The good news is around a third of young adults are turning their backs on alcohol. They're either drinking moderately or they're not drinking at all. A lot of youngsters think that alcohol is very much their parents' drug. So we've got issues with teens vaping and smoking weed that is more prevalent perhaps than alcohol. So that's a whole different topic. But again, these lessons that we're teaching them around addiction and how it can get a grip on you and how we've learned from it and how we've moved on from it can serve them so well in many different areas of their life. So instead of thinking, if I talk to my teenager about this, they're going to think I'm a bad parent, they're going to think I'm a failure, let me tell you, that's not what happened in my case. My son thinks that it's inspirational, he's learned from it, he's changed his opinion about alcohol, and I'm pretty confident in most cases, if you talk to your kids, that's exactly the sort of reaction and response you're going to have. And you'll end up having a beautiful, better relationship than you ever had before. And that's a wonderful thing.